It's time for 41 is the Mic, a weekly Chiefs podcast with Nick Jacobs of KSHB 41 and Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mic starts now.
Yes, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of 41 is the Mic. I am Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest, alongside schedule prognosticator enthusiast Nick Jacobs.
That's
KSHB
a lot of
41.
words. A lot of words, Matt.
It's a lot of words, but you're a lot of words kind of guy. I mean, you got a lot to say.
I resent that because I'm a producer and I have a clock going off in my head once I passed either a minute or 90 seconds and know that I need to use the escape hatch to be able to get out because the audience might be getting bored at that point.
Well, that's apparently something I definitely don't have. But that's what the podcast is here for, Nick. It is here for you to stretch your legs, to occasionally take the scenic route, to get all of those thoughts out of your system.
Nope, I'm a producer. We have a certain mindset in a certain way. And I don't have anybody to talk to in their IFB to be like, all right, we got to wrap. Let's go. Got to move on. I live in a world that's timed, Matt. I live in a world that's timed, and like coders have zeros and ones. I've got 15 and 20 seconds in my head.
I've heard you say that many, many times now in my ear, so I get that. I'll never tell you 15, 10, 5 seconds, Nick. You know that.
It's fine. I'm my own producer. I already know when the escape hatch needs to be done.
I always need your thoughts, and this week in particular, I need your thoughts, Nick, because we now have the Chiefs schedule. This is our first chance for us to go through it and break it down, talk about what we like, our impressions, the tough parts, the easy parts, all of that. And let's start right there, Nick. Schedule comes out Wednesday night. What are your first impressions?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really stunned because if you listen to our previous podcast, we talked about some of the big things that were going to be the big ticket items that were probably going to be there between when the Chiefs might play the Eagles, the New York Giants. I think one of us said was going to be involved because of the New York market, either in Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football. We weren't sure 100% about where the Ravens would line up. Lions and Commanders, we figured would either be on Sunday night or Monday night possibilities. And then Bills, we always assumed CBS was going to keep. And then, we made the prediction on Christmas night. And then we made the prediction on the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So I wasn't really surprised by anything. I mean, the Chiefs have a unique schedule that I think made the NFL incredibly happy. Whenever you've got a chance to put a Super Bowl rematch, a playoff rematch of the past couple of years, and a multiple conference championship style rematches on there with the Bills and the Ravens, then you have the previous Lions matchup and the NFC East all combined. Like for an NFL schedule maker, that's just probably a dream come true to where you can make every partner happy with a big game, whether that's, ABC or CBS or Fox or NBC or one of the streamers. They were able to divvy out a Chiefs game to every single person imaginable. So they all got a piece of that Chiefs schedule pie.
Yeah, the obviously of the many impressions I think you could have at first, there are probably three things that hit me right away. And one, you kind of hit it there, which is they gave everybody they could their max number of games. I mean, Amazon gets their game. YouTube is now obviously getting a game for the first time exclusively, and it's a Chiefs, which has been a pattern for the NFL. 3 Sunday night games, which is great for KSHB. 2 Monday night games. They got their Fox games. Everybody got a little piece of the pie. A lot of primetime windows. I was surprised 4 noon games, Nick. That's like high watermark in recent years for the Chiefs at noon. But that obviously part of it struck out with me. The primetime game stuck with me. And the other one was just that, the Chiefs don't have any stretch of back-to-back games on the road week to week. I mean, they're only back-to-back road games are week 9 and week 11 with the bye week in between Buffalo and Denver. I mean, from a travel standpoint and from just being away from home standpoint, this is pretty favorable schedule.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see in terms of the Chiefs what their focus is like at home versus the road, because traditionally They seem just a little bit more businesslike when they're on the road than when they're at home. So I'm curious to see with this football team if that kind of changes collectively, if that's a little bit different, where they're a little bit more businesslike, especially around Christmas time. That's going to be really, I think that's going to be a tougher game than people give it credit for, because one, the Broncos really want to beat the Chiefs, and they play them tougher and continually tougher with each passing year that Sean Payton gets to put the roster together that he wants. And with them being at home and it being a Christmas night game, like from a perspective, they potentially could get to have, Christmas with their families in the morning and then kind of have to start to lock in after that. And, maybe they have a lot of family in town. Maybe they have Christmas traditions. They have to speed up a little bit earlier in the morning than they would want. But, when are they able to flip that mindset to a football perspective? And can it be as efficient and effective as it was when they were in Pittsburgh last year for the noon game? And they were able to lock in and really kind of blow that game out as quickly as they did versus, when they were at home the year before against the Raiders and things just didn't look as crisp and as normal as they should, even though they played at noon back-to-back years. But 3 years in a row with Christmas and the Chiefs, that's don't think that trend's changing.
Yeah, as much as the NFL says it's not going to be a permanent thing, it feels like it's going to be a semi-permanent thing for a while, because there's not a lot of teams that raise their hand and say they want to play on Christmas every year. And seems like Mark Donovan, Clark Hunt, Chiefs are going to be willing to do that every single year. And if so, the TV partners will absolutely take it. So what's the toughest part of the schedule for you?
Everybody's pointing to the first 4 games of the year for the most part, when they go to Brazil to play the Chargers, and then they got to fly back and play the Eagles. Then they go to New York for that game on a Monday, and they come back and play the Ravens on a Sunday late. I don't disagree with that. The Chiefs are going to get a good litmus test in those first 4 games of where they're actually at, but I'm intrigued to kind of see when they hit that stretch of back-to-back, the Commanders and the Bills is going to be interesting for me. That one's going to be intriguing, where they're going to face a physical Lions team, and if things hold true like they did in the past, most opponents that played the week after they played the Lions had really tough games and normally lost. And the Chiefs would be playing the Raiders at home, and that would be a physical battle on that front. But then they get the Commanders the following week, and then they got to go to Buffalo. So with that bye week just right off in the distance. So that 4-week stretch is going to be intriguing for me if the Raiders have things figured out early on, or if they're still buying into what Pete Carroll's selling. I think that week 6 to week 9 is going to be very intriguing, and we'll have a really good idea where that football team's at. And then, like I already talked about Christmas, so I think that's kind of we'll know who the football team is by week 6 through week 9, who they are and who they're going to be.
Yeah, there's those 2 4-game stretches to me definitely stand out, and I feel like that in each of them between week 1 and week 4 and week 6 to week 9, those are certainly stretches where the Chiefs could go 2-2 or 1-3, and it wouldn't necessarily be a stunner. Chargers, Eagles, Giants, Ravens. And that Giants game just looms as a absolute trap game. You've got in between the Eagles and the Ravens, you got Brazil in that whole mix, and then all of a sudden it's a Giants team that on paper does not look very impressive, and they've got a bit of a tough start. So we'll see where they are, because that's their home opener. They're at Washington and Dallas to open the first 2 weeks. So they could be that could be an 0-2 team you're going to go face, but that's could be a team that you just overlook and could come up to bite you. And, the trap game in that second set, in week 6 to 9 between Lions, Raiders, Commanders, and Bills, Raiders would probably be the one that's looming there. the nice thing about that stretch, 3 of the 4 are at home. The last one against Buffalo on the road, and we know how that one usually plays out during the regular season for the Chiefs. And I'm glad you mentioned the Christmas stretch, because otherwise, a lot of the conventional wisdom has been Chiefs' schedule is loaded in the first 9 weeks, and then after the bye week, it gets a lot easier. There's still some tough games in that backstretch that you cannot overlook.
I mean, both Broncos games are going to be tougher than people give them credit for, and that's why the NFL made sure that they saved those for coming out of the bye week, because the Broncos are going to be playing a Thursday night game before that, so they won't. I mean, the Chiefs will technically have 3 days of rest on them, but maybe 4 if you technically want to include that Thursday, or almost 4 including the Thursday. But yeah, no, I'd say they deliberately made sure that the Broncos game was going to be right there in the heart, and I'm glad they're not playing the Broncos right before the Cowboys. I think that would be a much tougher draw to be at Broncos than at Cowboys. I think that would have been a little bit tougher back to back. But yeah, the Chargers, they seem to have a knack for putting them in the first 2 weeks of December the past couple of years. So I wasn't stunned to see them at Arrowhead in that front. They seem to like to put the Chargers early in the Chiefs September season, and then they seem to have it set up to where they're on the back half. In case they're doing well, they can maybe maneuver that game around to where it wouldn't stun me if any of those noon games the Chiefs have right now, if the Colts, Chargers, or Titans do better, it wouldn't stun me if one of those didn't get moved to a 3:25 time slot. Just like that Chiefs Raiders game could easily go to potential 3:25 if it gets to that point and they know where those opponents are outperforming when they're anticipating.
Yeah, I mean, I could certainly see the Raiders, being at least 4-2 going into that game, and if they get a kiss, I mean, if they knock off the Chargers at home in week 2, they beat beat Washington on the road in week 3. I mean, otherwise they've got New England, Chicago, Indy, Tennessee. I mean, those are, I think, all winnable games for the Raiders to a degree. I mean, we'll see just what they are early in the season, but if they come out hot and all of a sudden they're 5-1, you're right, that one could certainly get flexed. You mentioned the rest thing too, and I had the numbers from Warren Sharp. Some of you may have seen them. The net rest edge for the entire season, the Chiefs come out fairly neutral. They're at +2. The most rested team in the league is going to be the Detroit Lions. They're +13. Least rested is in the AFC West, Nick. The Raiders are at -19 days of net rest. Mm-hmm. With some of the other competitors for the Chiefs, Baltimore's +5, Buffalo -7, Cincinnati's a +3, the Chargers +5, Denver -4. So Chiefs are pretty neutral in that regard. What do you, when you start looking at this, what's the one game that you will not miss on this schedule that you have to make sure you watch?
Oh, I never miss a Chiefs game.
So. I know you don't.
So that question was
flawed from the beginning.
One for work, and 2 right. For in general.
What game are you telling people don't miss?
I don't miss any of them.
Don't miss any Chiefs game.
Why are you putting anything else in front of that in your life?
All right, let me word it. The game you're most looking forward to.
All of them, man. All of them.
I'm just failing here as an
you asked like a football junkie what like you asked a person that's like a football enthusiast, as you've called them in the past. You're like, hey, what are you going to be more enthusiastic about?
I should have introduced you as the best football game enthusiast.
No, because like all of them, like Pokemon, I gotta watch them all, man. Yeah. Look, I mean, the Eagles game is going to be intriguing. The Ravens game is going to be intriguing. Commanders, Lions, Bills, like. There's not one that I'm like, hey, this one, if I miss this one, I'm gonna be upset, because I'll still watch it later. So like, I don't know. For me, I can't give you one particular. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, I mean, to me, I look at the Commanders game because to me, with Jaden Daniels, what he's doing right now, and we'll see. I mean, maybe things will be a step backward in season 2. Maybe the team around him won't take the step forward. We'll see, but when you got a team like Commanders, because of the vagaries of the NFL schedule, you might not see him again for 8 years, and might not be even with the Commanders in 8 years. So to me, that's a team a game I think you just don't want to miss on Monday Night Football. That could be electric. I mean, you never know. I mean, the games are played in person, not on paper, but that's the one that, to me, I was certainly circling even before the schedule comes out. But then when it's going to be October at Arrowhead, Monday Night Football. I mean, that just adds to that one even more. That I just feel like it's going to be a fun one. I mean, Jaguars on Monday Night Football. I'm just not as juiced, Nick. I'm not going to lie.
So Matt, if you want to see the Commanders again against the Chiefs, you just need to root for the Commanders.
To win the division.
To win the division in 2026, and then the Chiefs will get them in 2027.
Well, there you go. I mean, there could be a shortcut to the every 8-year rotation.
And that's before the 18-game schedule. So,
well, let's just quickly go through it and see how we maybe see this season unfolding. Chiefs will start with a preseason schedule on KSHB 41. Don't know the game times and dates for everything, but we know the weekend of August 9th, it'll be at Arizona, the following weekend at Seattle, final one August 22nd against Chicago on a Friday night. That's how the NFL usually wraps everything up, with almost everybody playing on that Friday night before going on their break, like going into the season. Week 1, though, Chargers versus in Brazil gets real there on a Friday night. Nick, how do you see that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs are going to win that one, obviously. I mean, it'll be interesting to see the travel down to Brazil and what all factors come into play with either the field or what's the weather like down there. And I'm not talking about hotness on that front, because I think that's actually pretty. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what humidity's like down there that time of the year, but I'll be intrigued with what forecasts are like down there during that time. If there's something unexpected than normal, or what ends up happening in terms of average and everything.
Yeah, that's just the thing you're hoping for, is that the football is the story and nothing else around it becomes the story, especially the field. Last year there was a lot of slippage in that game. Sounded like it maybe it was humidity, maybe there was a little bit overwatering. Hopefully the NFL will be involved a little bit more and paying a little bit more attention to it this year, because you would like to have that in pristine condition for a game like this, especially since everybody's going to be watching. I'm with you too. I have the Chiefs jumping out to a 1-0 start there. Week 2, Super Bowl.
Before I forget, average temperature high is 73 where they're going to be playing. The low is typically 57 in September.
Yeah, tough winter conditions in Brazil. I guess that makes hectic. Yeah, that'll still be late winter in Brazil. So tough weather conditions. Week 2, Chiefs come home. It's a Super Bowl rematch against the Eagles. The Eagles also will be playing early in Week 1. They're on that Thursday night against the Cowboys. The Chiefs will be certainly a little bit of a rest disadvantage, having that long trip to Brazil one day later. What do you think about? Can the Chiefs go to 2-0?
Yeah, I already, when I wrote the article, I had them going to 2-0, because I just think the Eagles are going to be. I think the Eagles are going to be pretty full of themselves, and
not Nick Sirianni's team. No,
I just don't. I don't know until he proves otherwise. I just don't know if they don't know what's coming. And like that, no team that's trying to repeat does until they've gone through it. And the Eagles haven't been in a situation where they've been the team that everybody is now using as a litmus test of where they're at. And so the Eagles, I just don't think understand that level that they're going to have to maintain on a regular basis to be at that point. I don't know if enough, from a roster perspective, I don't know if enough guys are still around from that team when they went 11-0 and then the bottom dropped out like pretty soon after Monday Night Football when they played the Chiefs and everything, and kind of backed their way into the playoffs and then lost there against the Buccaneers and everything. I just don't know what the makeup is going to be of the Eagles throughout that year and how they'll go about it and how hungry they'll be in the guys that they need to have a certain level of intensity if they'll be able to kind of maintain that, because there's going to be a lot of stuff in the offseason where they're going to get pulled in different directions. And crazily, the Chiefs, it's been there, done that type thing. And so it's just, they think that's a part of business. While for the Eagles are experiencing this for the first time in the offseason. So I just don't know. They've accomplished what they wanted. They already beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and they beat them handedly. I just don't know if that same level of intensity and motivation is going to be there for those guys remaining on the roster.
Yeah, I'm a lot the same way. And I don't know. There's part of me that maybe Nick Sirianni isn't going to be playing the 3D chess that I think that maybe he will. I mean, if you found out something against the Chiefs, I don't know why you'd show it in week 2 when you might need it again in the Super Bowl down the road. So, I would certainly expect the Eagles to come in with a different game plan than they had in the Super Bowl. And the same game plan might not work. I mean, again, not to make excuses for the Chiefs, but I still think that was maybe just the worst day for the Chiefs of the season and the best day for the Eagles, and they matched up at the wrong time. Chiefs are going to want this. I mean, and we know that when Patrick Mahomes and company want something, they usually get it, and especially when it's a revenge game like this. So I'm with you. I think the Chiefs start out 2-0. Then on to New York, the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football. You mentioned it during the intro that NFL getting the Chiefs and Giants with the nation's largest TV market and the NFL's biggest TV draw early in the season before the Giants season can go underwater. And they open up with Washington and Dallas on the road. Like I mentioned, it's their home opener. Is this a trap game for the Chiefs?
No, and I don't like the word trap game whenever people bring it up. Or as I say that is because what stuff really comes down to, I think Travis Kelce illustrated it best on this podcast at one point, or whenever he's doing a presser with us, most of those guys, they're so locked in on week to week, and they've learned that they have to be locked in week to week, that they're not paying attention to the following week or the week after. Like right now, at this point, they may be like, oh, that's cool, play them, I'll play them. But once they're in the middle of it during the season, they've got such a process that has led to the success that they've had, that they are locked in on what the task is that week, because that's what they've had to do to maintain, to literally won 3 Super Bowls in the past 6 years. I'm just telling you, there's a certain process and culture that they bring usher guys into. Those guys have to buy into it. And then it just gets passed down over and over again. And that's what the Eagles are trying to build in Philly. And that's why I have my doubts right now, because they're just in the infancy stage of it. While the Mahomes, Kelce, and Chris Jones and all those guys of the world, they're on, year 7 or 8 of it now, to where it's just, it's just kind of ingrained in who they are. So, yeah, I mean, look, the Giants, let's be honest, the GM and head coach are fighting for their job. And what better way to fight for your job than to have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, who have a lot of turnovers, and give the ball away and be able to help you fight for that. And then you bring in, you draft a rookie quarterback in the first round to try to buy yourself more time. Be like, well, we got this rookie quarterback we're going to develop. So, I mean, you should definitely give us 3 more years. So they've done everything possible to try to buy themselves a lot more time. But Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are known for the turnovers and known for getting concerned when pressure comes their way. So the Chiefs just got to be able to bring the heat on those two, and they come out there with a win, even if they're not 100% focused.
Yeah, I just continue to have, when it comes to the New York, the Chiefs in New York City have just been a disaster in their last few trips, and I don't know what it is. I mean, and sometimes, hey, they've even played reasonably well, and it's Zach Wilson decides to have the game of his life. I'm going out on a limb here, Nick. I'm taking a loss in this one. I just feel like that this might be, after two pretty emotional games, trip to Brazil, Eagles, I think all of that adds up. The Giants, their home opener, I think the momentum's going to be on them. If the Chiefs take their eye off the ball, I'm not happy with the Giants quarterback situation at all whatsoever, but I have seen bad quarterbacks sneak up on the Chiefs and do it in New York. So I'm not happy about it, Nick, but I am going with the G-men here.
You know who else is going to have a say in this Giants game?
Who else?
A guy named Steve Spagnuolo used to coach there.
Well, that is true. Maybe that will be, as long as Travis Kelce is not called on to throw any passes. I mean, I'll feel better about their possibilities.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about that.
Week 4, Chiefs come home for the Ravens. Another one of these backyard brawls, Nick. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs will have a good idea what the Ravens are trying to do. It'll be really their first true athletic quarterback in that way outside of Jalen Hurts. So, I mean, because Herbert's not going to be that guy, and what they got going on in New York's not going to be that. So Hurts will have given them a little preview of it. Lamar is going to run a little bit more. So the Chiefs will have a little bit of experience at home in terms of how they're going to combat that, and the Ravens will see that, and the Ravens will try to adjust off that a little bit. So it'll be, I can't remember if this is the one where I had them falling in that one against the Ravens. No, I had them beating the Ravens. So I'll stick with it.
Chiefs Ravens, which means it's going to be decided by probably a field goal at the end, or a toe not in the end zone in the end. But to your point from earlier, what's one of the best things that the Chiefs have going for them? The Ravens' previous game, Detroit on Monday night. So they're going to be on a short week after playing Detroit.
No, it's not.
That's not good. So yeah, I got the Chiefs there. So 3-1 for me, 4-0 for you. Week 5, Monday Night Football at Jacksonville. I still don't understand this one, Nick, but it's not getting flexed, and it's not going to be in the 90-degree daytime heat of Jacksonville in September.
Yeah, I mean, look, with the Jaguars, it makes sense. And the reason I say that is because if you go look at the Jaguars' schedule, because you're trying to make sure they get featured in a spot. The best spot, like, Matt, you want to know how many national games they're gonna have? I can't imagine more than this one. Maybe a third. Yeah. I guess they have to have a Thursday night. Well, do they not have a Thursday night game? They're doing they've got the international game.
Oh, that's right. There you go. So I guess.
But no, when I look at it on here, I don't think they have a Thursday night.
Well, those international games are, of course, nationally televised at 9 a.m. So
yeah, so I mean, they're playing the Rams at 8:30 in the morning before they go on their bye week. But yeah, the Chiefs are like their only prime time game right now. Yeah, looking at her, I don't even see. Yeah, they don't even have them in Thursday night.
I was gonna say, I think I saw 3 teams that don't have a primetime game this year.
It wouldn't stun me.
I think Tennessee is one of them.
Yeah, that would make sense.
I can't remember the other 2, but
the Jaguars don't have a Thursday night football game.
I mean, I just assumed that somebody hit the wrong button and put this game in prime time, because I have to, and I've not looked at the full Week 5 NFL schedule. I mean, there's got to be a better game than this, but it's Monday night. You're going to play it, Nick.
Like I said, if that's the only primetime game the Jaguars have all year, like, it makes sense. Like, the Chiefs coming to town, it allows them to take the Chiefs and put them on. When you're having to even things out, and you have to, I hate to say this, you got to look at this from a Chiefs perspective. When you're having to even out their schedule, and there was a chance to give a Monday Night Football game, then that was one of those ones that they could do to feature the Jaguars. And you're doing it at a time where Liam Cohen had come in the week before or the year before, excuse me, with the Buccaneers after they'd had multiple injuries and put up a pretty competitive performance that took the Chiefs to overtime at Arrowhead on Monday night. And if you didn't know this, Matt, I'm going to deliver a fun fact to you.
I like fun facts.
This is the third time in 4 years the Chiefs have played on Monday night in week 5, I think it is, because they played the famous game with the Raiders Chiefs where Chris Jones stripped the ball from Derrick Carr, and it was still he somehow got a penalty for already taking the ball away. And then they played either the Saints or Bucks this time last year. So the Saints. So the Saints last year. Liam Cohen and the Bucks came in week 9 last year. But you give Liam Cohen 5 weeks to put together what he wants to do on offense, or 4 weeks before for what he wants to do on offense, and the Chiefs get to go against him. So it gives him enough time to at least give a competitive game for the Jaguars, and then maybe kind of showcase where they are at on their roster.
And I'm now looking at the NFL Week 5 schedule, and it's all making sense now. This is worst week possible. The Sunday night game, Patriots at Bills, which historically is a fine game. It's just I don't know how good the Patriots are going to be this year.
It's Mike Vrabel, though, man. Mike Vrabel. You're deliberately. This is what I'm saying. To where you're giving Mike Vrabel, you're giving Liam Cohen enough time to build up their roster over a month to try to see if they can get them to a competitive rate, to where you can kind of decide if you maybe want to flex some games for them in another month or so.
I mean, Cowboys are playing the Jets. I mean, that's actually a reasonable market matchup, but it's just not going to be a very good football game in week 5. So, Chiefs playing Jacksonville. The Chiefs are going to win this game, right?
Well, yeah, I'm not worried about Jacksonville.
There you go. Okay. So, we're then going on to week 6, the Lions on Sunday Night Football, because not enough primetime games for the Chiefs, Nick.
Oh, but the Chiefs are going to be on primetime every chance I get, and 325 window every chance I get.
Yes, they are. What do you think about that Lions matchup?
That is the one I think I give them their first loss, because I still think that, I mean, there's obviously possibilities to where the Ravens could get them, the Eagles could get them, but I just have it being the Lions, being the one that have a physical brand. So I think at some point they're going to, in their first 6 games, I think they're going to lose at least 1, if not 2. So I just give it to the Lions, though, just simply because of the physical brand that they play. I could be terribly wrong, and the loss of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn really do a number on the Lions, but we won't find out until, the games actually start happening. And then then people can call me an idiot or whatever they want to at that point. But no, I mean, it'll be intriguing to see where the Lions are at now that they have different coordinators, and how much the team kind of remains who they were or who they potentially become overall.
And the Lions have a tough start to the season too. I mean, Chiefs' schedule is tough. Lions start out at Green Bay, Chicago at home, at Baltimore, Cleveland at home, at Cincinnati. I mean, those are certainly 2 losable games on the road. A couple of other games that, even if they're winnable, it might be tough games. I mean, Cleveland defense that's going to be a physical game for the Lions. So I'm not sure they're coming in with, 5-0 into that game. I mean, I think they're going to have some losses along the way. Sunday Night Football at Arrowhead. There's 2 games in the schedule that I'm going with, Nick, and I'm going with for the revenge factor being a little bit of a decider, maybe at least worth a field goal. Detroit, the Chiefs want to get back for that opening season loss for the guys who are still there. I mean, they remember that. So I do think that there will be a little bit of payback there for this one. I got the Chiefs eking by. And moving on to week 7, a noon kickoff at Arrowhead, Nick. Fire up the tailgate and get ready. Raiders are coming to town.
Yeah, for now it's a noon tailgate. I'm going to say for now.
For now it's a noon tailgate.
For now it's a noon tailgate. I'm going to say that every single time there's a noon game. But yeah, for now it's a noon game. Yeah, I mean, look, we'll see where the Raiders are at that point, obviously, because Pete Carroll is going to be trying to build them into a certain ball control, play action pass team, and he'll have. I mean, look, he's gonna have plenty of opportunities, like we previously talked about. Like Patriots, Chargers, Commanders, Bears, Colts, and Titans. So I mean, they have a chance that they can hit the ground running, and like you said, potentially be 4-2 by the time they get to Kansas City, maybe 5-1 if they're. Or no, excuse me, 5-1 potentially if they put it all together. So I mean, there's some possibilities for them that they could be riding some good momentum headed into this thing. So. I'm not discounting that they could, that the Raiders could have a better performance than they've had in previous years. I just think I'm intrigued to see where they'll be at from a pass rush perspective, because the health of Christian Wilkinson's foot is going to be a big part of what they can or can't be this season.
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like the quarterback position is going to be the thing that we're talking about with the Raiders. It's going to decide their entire season and what the kind of play they get out of that position. If you're interested, 49ers and Falcons are currently scheduled for the Sunday night football game, Nick, and I could absolutely see that being a pillow fight between a couple of 2-4 teams. So maybe 1-5. I mean, hey, maybe Michael Penix will be really good. Maybe the Falcons will be good. I could see the 49ers being terrible. I could see one or both of these teams being terrible. So you're right. For now, Chiefs and Raiders at noon.
Well, but have the Chiefs maxed out their number, though?
Does that matter anymore, though? Because the rule used to be 6, and somehow the Chiefs got 7.
Well, no, I thought the rule was moving to 7 this year.
Was it moving to 7 this year? I mean, nobody else got close to 7, right?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I thought the number was moving to 7.
You could be correct. So, I feel like when it comes to the Chiefs right now, the NFL and the rules are kind of like it's more of a guideline than a rule.
I don't know, man. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunity to maneuver Chiefs games this year unless you take away a Monday night game, which they're not doing with the Chiefs Commanders.
Chiefs Texans in week 14 always has a possibility, but that's down the road. I'm with you though on the outcome of that one. Don't overlook the Raiders, but the Chiefs should win that one. Week 8 Commanders. This is going to be one of the ones I said it's one of my favorite games of the year. Monday Night Football. Jaden Daniels and company. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I have this one as a loss too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I got them losing this one. It may be the Commanders that they lose to. It might be one of the previous games we mentioned, like Eagles, Ravens, or something like that. Like it's all possible. I just assume that the Commanders are going to come in really hungry during that football game, and I get the sense that they're really going to want to prove, just like they did against the Lions last year in the playoffs, just kind of what football team they are. And I think Washington's going to see the Chiefs as the standard of what football is, and I think Dan Quinn's going to be able to get those guys to lock in a way. And I think Cliff Kingsbury, with his past with Mahomes, is going to give them some recommendations about what got him rattled over the years at Texas Tech and here in Kansas City, and try to see if they can duplicate and recreate that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a fun game for some of those same reasons. I think that the Chiefs are going to be motivated for this one as well. I think Mahomes against Daniels, that's a fight that Mahomes looks for. He likes those kind of games when he's going up against a quarterback that that everybody's going to be hyping up that matchup of Jaden versus Patrick all week long. Those are the kind of things he lives for. Commanders are coming off the week before playing at Dallas. That's going to be a tough one for them. So I'm going with the Chiefs in a close one here. And then they go to week 9 at Buffalo. And I'm going out on a limb here, Nick, that this might be the one game that you and I both have down the same way.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the Bills. I got them losing that one, but I have them losing that one because it's the trend and pattern of what they do. The Bills go all out for that game. They're worried about the battle instead of the war, and they still haven't learned yet, and they continue to prove that they haven't learned, and they throw too much out there for everybody to see, and then by the time the playoffs roll around, the Chiefs start throwing a little bit more in than what they had. Bills don't expect it, don't have an answer, and then that's that.
Yeah, I've got it as a loss as well, because once again, it's every year in the regular season, it seems like Buffalo's coming off a postseason loss to the Chiefs, and so they feel like they have to prove themselves. And you know that there are going to be no safe tables in Baltimore or Buffalo that week, because they're going to be setting fire to everything that they can find that week. Try and beat the Chiefs. So I'm with you. I got that down as a loss. Chiefs then go into week 10 bye week, which is a great. I mean, I always say best bye week, Nick, is Thanksgiving. That's the one you want for sure. Second best bye week is just as late as you possibly can. So 12, 11, 10's great. You don't want week 6. That's a terrible bye week. But any week that's a double-digit bye week, I will take that, Nick.
Yeah, no, I mean you would prefer week 11 or week 12 ideally, but yeah, no, week 10's just right there. Gives you the right balance to where they can get away, reset, and normally it seems like for the Chiefs, their bye weeks work out the way they're supposed to. And the reason I say that is because you remember we didn't like the bye week last year, but they were in a tailspin with injuries at that point, and they needed to recalibrate, and that actually helped them last year be able to recalibrate after they'd lost all their receivers and Pacheco got hurt. And Kareem Hunt was just getting his whole body moving again. And so it actually ended up kind of helping them down the stretch of adjusting what they had basically planned all year and then had to kind of tear up and start from scratch again.
Yeah. And then you go into week 11, you've got Denver coming in to get kind of going on the meat of your AFC West schedule here at this point, and what goes into the second half of the season. You're coming off the bye. The Broncos are playing the Raiders Thursday night in week 10, so they've got a 10-day rest, a little bit less. But at some point that equals out. I mean, that's not, to me, a huge discrepancy, because that Thursday night mini bye week is nice. Yep. And then both teams kind of get a free weekend and head into a regular practice week. So it just comes down to me, which is the better team. And right now, I think the Chiefs are.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs and Broncos are going to split this year, but I think with the Chiefs being able to come off a bye week, I think that's going to be the deciding factor for the Chiefs, because Andy Reid and them get to kind of reevaluate what they're doing during that bye week, kind of look over some things, and start to come out with maybe some less predictable formation, some less predictable things that they may have been doing tendency-wise from the first half of the season. So then Denver doesn't have the complete beat on stuff that they did before, and the Chiefs are able to kind of essentially adjust their game plan in their season to where I just think the Chiefs are going to have the right amount of rest and the right amount of ability to kind of scout themselves to where I think that's the deciding factor in that game. And then, then the other one I think will have a little bit more distraction involved in it.
Moving on to week 12, another home game, back-to-back home games coming out of the bye week. This one against the Colts. Excuse me, I forgot that one's on the road at the Broncos. Against the Colts. Colts are coming off a bye week in week 11, so they are going to be the more rested team that week. If this was in Indianapolis, Nick, I'd be a lot more worried. But in Kansas City, I even with the Colts coming off the bye week, this to me feels like what should be a comfortable win.
Well, there's a factor in the game that I'm going to remind people to be cautious about. It's called the Lou Anarumo factor, as he's the defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts.
100%.
It'll be at the time of the year where Lou will maximize what their ability is and who they are as a defense. Where the battle he's got to go against and the thing he can't do anything about is, has Daniel Jones beaten out Anthony Richardson as a quarterback yet? And if so, how is Daniel Jones doing? Like Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, depending on which quarterback there is starting at that point and having the season, that's going to determine so much of who the Colts are or aren't this year. And I think Lou's going to be the guy holding them in games with that defense and that scheme overall. So I think it just comes down to who's their quarterback and how they're playing this time of the year. So I think that game has a possibility, if Lou can get them hitting on all cylinders defensively, to be a much closer game than Chiefs fans want or expect. But I still think the Chiefs win it.
And then week 13, Another game I'm really looking forward to, but this one on the road. I mean, Nick, I grew up in Southwest Missouri, so I watched two teams growing up, especially since I was born at a certain age when the Cowboys were justifiably America's team, and you bought into the idea that there was that opening in the roof of that Texas stadium was there so God could watch his team play. I grew up a Chiefs fan too, so these were my two favorite teams, Nick. I mean, I can't lie. I still have Cowboys gear left from my childhood, in the house and everything. So this is always a fun game for me. And on Thanksgiving, I mean, this is anytime this has happened in the past, this has been the dream come true.
Yeah, so for the Chiefs Cowboys game, I think the Chiefs will win. Brian Schottenheimer we'll see where they're at and if they're doing the correct play action style, heavy run game offense that they need to for Dak to succeed, or if they're doing more of a shotgun style offense where Dak can throw a lot of interceptions. So we'll find out if Brian has gotten Dak convinced that this is the way you play and how you play, and we'll see if George Pickens how he's doing down there at that point, if he's on his best behavior so he can get payday, or if he's who a lot of people think he is and just, can't really maintain his emotions during a contract year. So those will be the two big highlights, I think, coming out of that week in Dallas, is where the Cowboys are at because of those two factors.
Yeah, and Cowboys have a tough schedule. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And they are playing, both these teams will be obviously on short weeks. Chiefs coming off the Colts at home. Dallas will be coming off the Eagles at home. So that's even with calculating in the Lou Anarumo effect with the Colts. I don't envy the Cowboys, even having the back-to-back home games. Even that scenario, playing the Eagles is not going to be easy for them at all whatsoever. That's always a physical, emotional game. So I've got the Chiefs winning this one as well, and then it's a Texas, Patrick Mahomes theme kind of there for a couple of weeks. Chiefs checking out everybody in Texas. The Houston Texans come to town for Sunday Night Football in Week 14. We saw this game last year, Nick, and the Texans gave it their all until an injury really took the sails out of them in that game.
Yeah, it's the question that nobody's going to really have answered until they get on the football field is how did they do with their offensive line rebuild? How were they able to do what they needed to potentially become an ideal offensive line that CJ Stroud needed? Because, I mean, the Texans' offensive line wasn't as bad as what they tore it apart to become. So that aspect's going to be interesting. I mean, they bulked up the wide receiving group so that they could, even if they do have injuries, it doesn't derail their season like it did last year. So they really put a heavy emphasis on that front. And then, I mean, they do have some quality running backs as well to where they can withstand some injuries and still be okay on that front. So they really actively were trying to help themselves kind of maintain what they already did on defense and just be able to kind of continually build off that and keep that chemistry going. But they really overhauled that offense collectively to add receivers and offensive linemen. And I think that'll be the difference in competition. I still have them losing, though. I have the Texans losing to the Chiefs.
I'm going the other way on this one. I mean, the Texans were really salty after that loss last year, and obviously it was emotional for them too because they felt like I think they had that game in hand until things got out of their control late. They were not happy with the way that game unfolded. I think they thought that there maybe was a couple of calls that didn't go their way too. I mean, everybody's going to circle the Chiefs on their schedule. But for the team that's probably circling this Chiefs game the hardest and looking at it, it's the Houston Texans. I don't think there's anybody on this schedule this year that's going to want this game as bad as those guys do. So I think that the Chiefs are going to get their max effort. And hey, it's great that you're coming off the mini bye week. Maybe that will be enough to get the Chiefs past the Texans. But I think Houston's going to absolutely want this game. I've got that down as a loss for the Chiefs. And then they've got the Chargers coming in the following week in Week 15.
Yeah, I'm not as bought into the Chargers as other people are. And the reason I say that is because there was two things they really needed to get right coming into this year. And it was rebuilding that pass rush that they were getting ready that they essentially had to tear apart and were going to need to tear apart, is rebuilding that front seven in a way to where it can be a good pass rush, but then also adding what they needed to at receiver and tight end. So this time of the year, it'll be interesting on that front because they have the 1-2 combo in Hampton and Najee Harris at running back. From a receiver perspective, yes, they brought back Mike Williams, but he normally gets hurt. They still have Quentin Johnson that's really struggling. He's struggled as a receiver in the league. We'll see where Trey Harris is at that point. And then you got Ladd McConkey, who they're going to be running most of that offense through. Question will be where Aronde Gadsden is at that point by the time they face the Chiefs and everything. So I still think they're another year away from really having the reliable receivers and the pass rush that they want/need. But they have an offensive line that's going to give Justin Herbert plenty of time. But I think there's enough there for the Chargers to know what Justin Herbert is or isn't going to be in their scheme. And I think by the end of this year, the Chargers will know if he's the guy that they need to continue to build around or if they need to find his heir apparent. And once they can pull the escape hatch on that contract, that they potentially do so.
Yeah, it is going to be interesting to me just what the Chargers are, because I'm with you. I think that they probably are still a year away from really being the team that Jim Harbaugh wants them to be. They've still got some elements and that they need to get to. And let's face it, I mean, it's not the same offense that it used to be with Mike Williams, and Mike Williams isn't the same receiver that he used to be. The injuries, I think, have taken their toll. He's just not the same guy anymore. So if that's somebody you're counting on to be a starter and an impact player, I'm just not sure it's quite there yet. So I'm with you. I've got the Chiefs sweeping the Chargers this year with the win there. And then week 16, it's the Mike Borgonzi Bowl, Tennessee Titans, Nick.
Yeah. Titans got
say something else about the the Tennessee Titans that's interesting.
Well, I mean, just overall, I think Bergonzi knows deep down how much of that roster he's going to have to really turn over. And I don't think Cam Ward's not exactly going to have the easiest of years to really kind of put things together as a rookie. Because if you look at the wide receivers they got right now, it's Calvin Ridley, it's Van Jefferson, it's Tyler Lockett. And then behind that, you've got handful of rookies and other guys that are going to need time to develop and put it together. I love that they have Jaquay Jackson. I'm intrigued by that, and obviously they've got some young receivers, but all those receivers are going to take time to develop. Offensive line wise, I mean, look, they have Dan Moore, we'll see how that goes, and I mean they've got their former left tackle at left guard now, and Skoronski, and then they've got Latham at right tackle. So, I mean, they have an offensive line that can be semi-competitive collectively. They just don't. At running back, I'll be intrigued to see kind of how they implement Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard. So that we'll see on that front. And then they have weapons for Cam Ward to be successful. I just think there's a lot that Bergonzi is going to have to put together to make this an actual team and a cohesive team and a chemistry right that complements everybody and lets them be what they're actually after.
Yeah, I guess in retrospect, we probably should have seen that the selection of Cam Ward was telegraphed even going back to March with the signing of Dan Moore by the Titans, because, I mean, signing Dan Moore, I mean, that's at least giving some protection to a rookie quarterback, what you can do. And it also probably makes sense in the sense that, I mean, the Chiefs probably would have been interested in Dan Moore at a certain price. And Mike Bergonzi knew what that price probably was and knew he had to beat it because, hey, if you're a free agent and you can go to one of the worst teams in the league or one of the two best teams in the league, I think you know where you're going. So, when you're Titans, you have to overpay for things. And they overpaid for Dan Moore. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But in retrospect, it makes a ton of sense because at least now Mike Pagano's got the best possible protection he could have gotten for a rookie quarterback. Will it work year one? Probably not. But you're right. I mean, I think he knows what he has to do to rebuild this team. And, one element was, hey, if you're going to get a rookie quarterback, you better give him some protection. And he went out and got him a veteran receiver too. I like Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett's great, and he should be a great mentor for that team. But they're still a few years away. So win for the Chiefs. And then, Nick, we don't get Christmas off this year. We'll never get Christmas off, I guess, for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, as long as Patrick Mahomes quarterback, I don't think we're going to have to worry about if they aren't playing on Christmas. It's just next year, Christmas will be on a Friday, I think, and that'll be interesting for the league. I'm sure they'll still do a Friday game. But, that'll be...
How many Friday games? That'll be the key.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll worry about that next year. But, yeah, no, I mean, I think this is one where the Chiefs could be distracted, just with it being Christmas week, families in town and everything. The Broncos, I think, are going to be very business-like that game. And Sean Payton's really wanting to get that decisive win, especially when it's going to be in a primetime atmosphere, standalone game like that. And I think the Broncos will be incredibly determined, as long as they're healthy that week, to really come away with a win. So I had the Chiefs initially losing that game. I won't be surprised if they win it, but I just think with all the factors, I think that'll be a tougher game from a focus perspective than people give it credit for.
I mean, we know it is because the Chiefs had that lack of focus on Black Friday against the Raiders. I still think that memory is at least fresh enough in this team's mind, though, that they're not going to have the same letdown again in a game like this. Broncos, you would think would have the same effect. Just like we saw with the Chiefs going on the road, Raiders going on the road on a day like that. Hey, it does seem to bring teams together. So maybe this will be the best possible game that we could ask for on a Christmas night in prime time. Maybe it'll be very, very entertaining. It should be two good teams that really want it. So maybe we'll get the best football we can of the day. Both teams coming off what should be easy games. I mean, yes, the Chiefs are on the road at Tennessee. Broncos are at home against Jacksonville. So even on a short week, I mean, I like both those matchups that you're coming off of into this game. You're not like you're playing the Detroit Lions or the Eagles or somebody like that. Should be a good game, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs eking this one out. And then week 18, at some point, the Chiefs will play the Las Vegas Raiders. We don't know when. The Week 18 schedule won't be set until Sunday night of Week 17. It's when we're going to find out what those matchups are, Nick. But
Nope.
I mean, I think that if I'm not mistaken, I think we have the Chiefs. I'm trying to remember. You have the Chiefs at the 13-3 at this point, or is it 12-4? 13-3?
No, I think I had them at 4 losses.
You got them at 4 losses already, so you got them at 12-4. I have them at 13-3. I've got them losing this one to finish the season at 13-4. I'm just not sure it's going to mean anything to them. It'll be at the Raiders, and if it turns into another game where you sit everybody, I'm going to go with the Raiders in this one.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. I haven't beaten the Raiders, but simply because I already gave them that loss against the Broncos. So, I mean, I'm thinking the Chiefs are going to be 13-4 collectively this season. The one thing I do want to say, and this will be my high horse for a minute, is what you've heard this week is what I predicted you were going to hear. And it's what you're going to continue to hear throughout this offseason is, well, the Chiefs can't win all these one-score games. The Chiefs can't win all these one-score games again. Chiefs can't win all these one-score games again. You're going to hear that over and over again. The thing they're going to forget to formulate and also add into that equation is a lot of the reason they had to win those one-score games because the amount of injuries they had on their football team was because they didn't have Rashee Rice out there. They didn't have Hollywood Brown. They didn't have Isaiah Pacheco. And then we could go on and on with the list with guys that they had injured by the time they were in those one-score games. So when you don't have some of your best players, yes, that is what happens. You struggle in games where you don't have the premium players or you have guys that are collectively hurt. So they will magically forget that part of this thing, of the equation, and they will forget that the Chiefs offense would, if all those guys were healthy, maybe that Chiefs offense isn't as sluggish as it was at times. And if they improve at the left tackle spot, which was causing a lot of the problems even through, even with all those injuries on top of it, then that offense can be a different style, can be a little bit more aggressive, can attack a little bit differently. And then those one-score games just maybe aren't a possibility in general, because you don't have to worry about how you're going to get the ball to people that are not named Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy's working his way through, and Patrick isn't having to run around because of the issues at left tackle. So essentially what I'm getting at here is they can mention one-score games all they want, but the real students of the game will be able to tell you why they were having one-score games.
And I absolutely co-sign with that, because once again, I mean, if the Chiefs don't have like the number 15 scoring offense and 16th in yardage offense again this year, if they're top 5, top 10, they're not going to have a bunch of one-score games. You're exactly right. I mean, they're going to probably have some one-score games against really good teams. They're not going to have one-score games against Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to win those by double digits. And, I go back to the last 2 years. I mean, you take this team, were they truly an 11-6 team in 2023 when they won the Super Bowl? Probably not. They were better than that. Were they as good as the 15-2 record that they had last year? No, they probably weren't. But you take those two seasons together, what were they? They were average of 13-4. Are they a 13-4 team, Nick? Well, that's exactly what I think they are this year. That's what you think they are this year. I mean, that's a really good team, but it doesn't necessarily. And they're that to that degree. I mean, I think there's some consistency there. It's just some years you win some games, some games you lose some games that maybe you shouldn't have. So I feel like, hey, this team is in that ballpark. It's a 13-win type of team. I mean, they could end up with 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 wins, depending on which way the ball bounces. But I'm completely with you on your high horse, Nick. I mean, we both need high horses. I think you're right. I mean, if the Chiefs offense achieves what it wants to, what it believes it can be, and what it was 2 years ago, yeah, it's going to be a different story this year.
So remember why one-score games happen. That's what I'm getting at.
There you go. All right. Any final thoughts? Any parting thoughts on the closing the book on the schedule release and going forward, Nick?
No, because we're about 30 minutes over what I was anticipating. I don't have any more thoughts.
All right. Then with that, we will see you later. Live Q&A from Chiefs Digest on Tuesday night. And obviously, we'll be back in your threads at 41 is the mic next Sunday. And whenever there's anything entertaining or breaking, you might hear from us as well. So everybody have a great week.
Bye now.
You've been listening to 41 is the Mic, presented by KSHB 41, your home of the Chiefs and Chiefs Digest.